Hello, welcome back. It is week 59 on Out on That Line. That rhymed. I'm Geoff with my co-host Alex. As always, Alex, how you doing this week?
Smooth as always, Geoff. Smooth as always.
Oh, that was beautiful. Can
Thank
you just do the whole episode like that?
You know what? I might have to. I usually sound like a jabbering idiot, but this is an episode where
I wasn't going to say anything.
Thanks, Geoff. Something that could have been brought to my attention yesterday.
Well, better late than never, I suppose.
I suppose.
Yeah. Well, this week we have an album that I think everybody has been waiting for. The newest from Silk Sonic came a little earlier than expected, a lot earlier than expected, actually. An Evening with Silk Sonic. And is the official subtitle presented by Bootsy Collins? Is that like part of the thing, the whole deal?
I think that's just an acknowledgement. I don't think it's part of the title.
Okay. Well, we're going to get to that album. We've been waiting for it. I think a lot of people have been waiting for it. And we're going to have a lot to say about that one. So stick around for that towards the end. But I heard you had a little something you wanted to start with.
Yeah, I kind of want to drop a little piece of dynamite in your lap up top here.
Okay.
So I know the Swifties don't like us, and we don't like Taylor Swift's music. But I gotta say, I respect the hell out of her for what she's doing right now, re-recording all those albums to get the rights back. So I gotta give official, sanctioned, Out on That Line props to Taylor Swift, if you can believe it.
Oh my God. I mean, it is an all-time petty move. Like, all time. Like, so much, you have to respect that. I mean, that is like the biggest fuck you I've ever seen.
Well, and Scooter Braun fucked her, sold her shit, and now if she wants to get it back, everything has to be re-recorded.
Yeah.
And I look at what she's doing with it, and I gotta say, she's making the most of the opportunity by doing things differently so that people don't necessarily know what's coming. She's giving them extra songs that, hit the cutting room floor. Like, it's a cool opportunity. I think it's whack that you have to record the same album twice just to get the publishing rights back, but
yes,
I have to respect it. I have to respect Taylor Swift. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hope, I just for that though, I hope that this kind of starts a little bit of a movement that gets some of the rights back in the artist's hands versus the label's hands, because at this point, the label doesn't really have a lot to do with the artist's success. I don't know when the last time somebody was really pushed and had a ton of success versus, they kind of had a good hit on social media. Mm-hmm. Right now, TikTok, it's like so much stuff is very organic nowadays. I think kind of like what it was like maybe the 90s, there was still terrible record company and record contracts and stuff like that. But that was, I think, kind of a turning point in people having a little more access to music with the the cassette and then the CD. I think that kind of allowed more people to access the stuff when they could pay $60 for a CD player and $15 for a CD. I think we don't really need the labels anymore. There's no reason for them, because other than I think the artists basically handle it all themselves at this point, or they should. And I hope this sort of thing more artists do, first of all, and then I hope this kind of kicks off more artists having more control of their own rights and music, because I think it's terrible that this even had to be the case. She recorded it for somebody else, and then when given an opportunity, she even wanted to buy them. She wasn't asking them just to give them back. She wanted to buy them, and he just basically put it up for sale to anybody but her. And it's just, it was a dick move. I think she's an all-time petty queen for doing this. And you're right. You got to respect it.
I stand with Swiftie Nation. I back them because you know what? She's trying to get the rights back to her music in an age when all of the elder, vanguard of the industry are selling the rights to their shit. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear Tangled Up in Blue on a fucking Kia commercial soon. So again, I respect that I get it. I get she stands to make a lot of money off these things as well, but she seems to also really care about the material, which again
Yeah.
is not for you and is not for me. But it has a right to exist, and if she feels that strongly about getting her shit back cuz it's her art, I got to hand it to her, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point, talking about how everybody's like selling their music nowadays, and she's going to buy hers. I think that's a good kind of juxtaposition between the different generations of musicians nowadays.
Well, and you
And
talk about, sorry, real quick, you talk about that like decentralizing the labels. The DIY thing is huge. Look at our good friend Sarah Tudson from Illuminati Hotties. Look at Phoebe
mm-hmm.
Bridgers. She is the record label, Saddest Factory Records. Like,
Yep.
they are doing it, and it is viable. So you're 100% right.
Yeah, I think that's the way it needs to go. And that's going to be the only way we continue to get, new original music is, you can't have these monopolies. At one point, Columbia Records and RCA Records and, whoever else, were the big time record companies back in the day. Eventually that really just ends up homogenizing a lot of different kinds of music in order to just fit on the radio and be successful. And I feel like we're getting into a cycle now, and maybe we have been in it for a little bit, of artists taking a little more control of what they're doing, owning their own record labels so that they can have all the publishing rights and do what they want to do with their music or not want to do with their music. It's their choice at that point, instead of them having to have a certain number of albums, which is forcing output, which is the kind of, I think, sure, necessity is the mother of invention, but I think too much pressure can ruin the artistic process. I think a certain amount of pressure can help, but that can't be outside pressure, I guess, is the difference. If it's outside pressure, very difficult to create under those circumstances. When you're putting that pressure on yourself, a little bit different story there. But now the artists have the option. They're not being forced to make things a certain way in order to get popular. They can build their fan bases on their own. They have the full access to that with the internet. And I think it's just a good thing that things are moving this way. As much as I hate that it's Taylor Swift being the one to really lead the way with this stuff, I guess you got to, kind of take your licks once in a while.
Well, and it just proves that the prophecy was true, which is that when I was arguing with that girl that was like, oh, no one suffered more than Taylor Swift, no one's given more to the music industry than Taylor Swift, and I said, fuck that shit. That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard.
Yes.
But it's coming to pass.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Really.
What have I done? What have I done?
It might have, I don't know, we might have split. This might be like a bad timeline, like things seem okay right now, but this might be in the movie, about Out on That Line, like when we time traveled. I think this is the point where it's like the audience is going to be like, oh shit, like stuff is not right. Something is not right. And then we're unaware because we're both the protagonists in the movie. So we're unaware at this point because we haven't been given the exposition that the audience has. And right now, my mind is kind of blown as I'm recognizing this in real time. And I think we're in real trouble.
It's the darkest timeline. We are officially existing in the darkest timeline.
Oh,
where
man.
I got into a music argument with a witch, and now Taylor Swift is about to lead us into a new age of prosperity and artist ownership. I mean, not really, but what a fun bit that is. The idea that we criticize Taylor Swift and then she makes us eat it.
We thought Trump was bad. Now we got Swift. This could be trouble.
That fluttering horde they call the Swifties, they'll come down on you. They'll come down on you if you compare her to Trump. You watch yourself, my man.
I thought you were about to call Taylor Swift a fluttering whore. I was like, what?
What a specific insult, you fluttering whore.
And then you said hordes. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
For a second, just that split second.
You've seen Venture Brothers, right?
Oh, yeah.
The fluttering horde is what the monarch called his henchmen, and I just randomly
Okay.
was like, everyone will get that reference.
Okay.
For a show that was on for 20 years and got canceled and no one ever watched.
I do think fluttering horror is a hell of an insult. If you find the right instance to drop that on somebody, you could put a whooping on them.
That would be pretty much a conversation ender right there. Yes.
Yeah, you should
exactly
know it.
correct.
Use it on Rory on Skimbo Lounge. He's not going to listen to this, so I'm not worried about ruining the surprise.
No.
Yeah.
And if you are a listener of both, now you're in on the joke.
I think there's probably a few people that double dip.
We got some crossover, I feel like.
Yeah. Those poor souls. Do they not have anything better to do?
Why would you want to listen to me talk for 2 hours a week? I have to live with it, and I barely want to do it.
It's the only 2 hours a week that you talk.
Yeah, yes.
You hate it so much.
Preferably.
Yeah.
Other than that, I try to keep my goddamn mouth shut.
Well, what do you say? What do you say? We talk a little bit about our gentleman Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak and their little band called Silk Sonic and their little album called An Evening with Silk Sonic.
And what an evening it was.
What an evening it was. Man, I was floored by this album. I'm just going to get it out of the way right off the bat. There was a couple spots where I was like, they could have kept the heat going, kept the heat up a little bit. But overall, I mean, there were so many like wow moments on this album for me that, the whole thing was just such a ride, such a great experience.
Here's the thing. I am going to right up front cash in my objectivity chit. This episode will feature no objectivity from me. I loved this album so much purely for what it is that I will not hear arguments to the contrary. If you try to criticize this album, go fuck yourself.
Yes.
Are we going to say things like, yeah, I guess maybe this was the low point in the album, but do you realize what the low point in this album is compared to other music? I mean, most people spend their lives trying to become the low point of the Silk Sonic album. That's all I'll say. So understand that I'm pretty much just going to spend the next 45 minutes shitting my pants because I loved this fucking album. It was tremendous.
Yes, tremendous. And I think what better way to kind of really bring it in? They go through this intro. I mean, that you're at this like Vegas lounge show, I think is really the idea that they're trying to get across. And they bring in Bootsy Collins and he comes in and he says, well, all right, it is I, Blaster of the Universe, Bootzilla himself. Fellas, I hope you got something in your cup. And ladies, don't be afraid to make your way to the stage for a band that I named Silk Sonic. It is the epitome of smooth. Like, there has never been anything smoother on this planet than Silk Sonic. I guess fitting that they named the band after Silk because it is just that smooth. And this intro was just so perfect. It puts you right there. It's like you're at the show.
Fucking absolutely. The aesthetic is a huge part of this album and a huge part of this experience because we'll get it out of the way up front as well. This is purely 70s Motown, soul, funk, pop music. And it's not trying to do what St. Vincent tried to do, which is take a 70s Laurel Canyon sound and add her modern sensibilities to it and make this kind of new sound with retro vibes, but not a direct recreation of something you'd hear from the period. Everything that you hear on this Silk Sonic record could have been produced by Berry Gordy and Motown. It is down to the last detail, Steely Dan levels of studio perfectionism. They recorded with they had 2 mics for the entire band. They used session musicians that were making music around the old timers, as they described it.
Yeah.
And then you get someone like Bootsy Collins to be the godfather of this thing, sprinkle some of that Parliament Funkadelic dust on top. It's captures the magic. It's not just two guys like cosplaying a genre. It's creating an entire experience. Hosted by Bootsy Collins with special appearances by our buddy Thundercat and others. Babyface. Like, Jesus Christ. It's perfect. It is a perfect time out of time experience.
I just can't even believe the amount of, and I'm gonna first of all like put this out there that I'm not like an expert on like 70s soul and funk and like R&B music, like not by any means. I've always enjoyed it. You know, there are certain artists that I'm way more familiar with than others, but from what I know about that genre of music and like that time period in music, like this is perfect. This is such a perfect representation of that. And it's funny, just like a lot of those songs were back then. I mean, there's so many, they definitely say some stuff on this album that I don't think they were saying back then on those albums, but you know, it's very honest. You know, I think there's like some vulnerability as well as tons of bravado throughout this album. It's just such a, I don't know, just such a raw, visceral experience for something that is so glitzy and glamorous, you know, at the same time. It's just such an interesting, intimate experience. It really is an evening with Silk Sonic. It's such a perfect way to name the album because that's exactly what it is.
Well, and it was smart to do a kind of like ironic distance between the content and the music, because if they had done straight up, like not even pretended to be like they're being Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. They're not being two guys from Motown in the 70s and like making it direct, like playing it in 2021 was smart because you can say things like this bitch, you know, and that kind of stuff. And the gushy, we'll get into that. You know, I wanna, but it was smart to keep like a semi tongue-in-cheek distance from the subject matter. Because then when they dip into the real sentimental stuff, it hits that much harder, which is what you need. It really sells those ballads. And like, you're right. They wouldn't have said stuff like that back in the day because Motown was intentionally like the performers kind of had to be staid and stoic and present a very specific inoffensive image because Motown was an attempt to bring that kind of music into the mainstream. So here we have two mainstream pop stars reverse engineering to get back to Motown, bringing it full circle, which is pretty fucking cool if you ask me.
Yes. And I think the other thing is like, I would have never anticipated, you know, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak like getting together, but what an absolutely perfect combination. It seems like there is so much bravado that the two of them are just pumping out, just like heat waves from the sun, just like so much confidence and just like dripping and like innuendo and all this stuff. And you would normally, when you see that sort of thing happen, like you see in Van Halen with David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen, like neither is comfortable with the other being the leading man. So like they just implode. It doesn't seem like that's the case at all. It seems like they both enjoy this so much. And like, I feel like are both just fully confident in their own careers and own abilities that they're just having a fucking blast making this music. And you can feel that. It feels like they had just as much fun making it as I have had listening to it. I don't even know how many times at this point.
And again, very intelligently, there isn't a leading man. It's two very specific characters. Like, it's like a buddy cop. You know what I mean? It's like Lethal Weapon. You've got two completely different guys. Anderson .Paak is the guy whose charm comes from like how direct he is. He's the one that'll go up and talk to the woman. Bruno Mars is the one that'll like stay behind at the bar and put out the vibe, and the woman comes to him. So there's this kind of like deep bravado, and then there's this kind of like sensitive guy who absolutely is going to lay you down on a bed of rose petals and make you, and just an old-fashioned session, a little throwing hip, little toe curling, as our neighbors to the north say, throwing hip. It's like such a carefully crafted aesthetic, which makes all the difference. They could have just been like, bah, let's just do a bunch of music, blah. a bunch of 70s music, a bunch of Motown stuff, whatever happens, happens. But it was the way they recorded it, the people, the personas that they took. Again, they're not playing characters, they're playing to their strengths, which is what makes them such a deadly combination on this album.
Yeah. And I got to think, because I mean, Bruno Mars vocally, I think if people aren't aware, he is a prize fighter vocally. Like he is a very, very good singer. You know, that is his number one. I mean, of all the male singers out right now, because there's some female singers that blow him out of the water. I mean, it just is what it is. But, you know, of all the male singers, like he's him, The Weeknd, you know, there's not a long list of people that could stand up to it, you know, be considered one of the best pop singers in the world. You know, and he's one of them. And he hasn't had a lot of stuff come out in recent years. So I think people might have forgot about him a little bit. And I think this is such a good way for him to crack back into the mainstream, is with something this fun and this catchy. You know, I think he did a great job of that with Uptown Funk. And then I think he kind of realized that, hey, maybe that throwback sound has something to it. And then this idea just became, you know, just came to fruition over time. And I think Anderson .Paak is so talented musically that coming up with these sort of arrangements was no problem at all for him. And because they're just as talented as the other, but just maybe in different areas, they work very well as a unit. And it was so smart to bring in Bootsy Collins to add to that aesthetic that you're talking about. You know, we always talk about authenticity, and neither of these guys were probably even born, I don't think, when this music was popular. I know Anderson .Paak wasn't. I don't think Bruno Mars was. I think he's like maybe my age.
Yeah,
if not a little younger. So it's like they weren't alive when this music was really popular. So like they had to get the real know-how from somebody, and they brought in the people that knew because they had the passion to do it. And it's just I feel like I hope they do like a documentary or something about the making of this album, like how they came up with it, like who was involved, like how many people, how long this took to like come to fruition. Cause I'd be really interested to see like how this all came about in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if someone was rolling on that, because that's actually another thing. I realize we haven't even touched a song yet,
No.
but that was another thing, I'll make this brief, that I would have liked for this if this had a visual component akin to Casey Musgraves doing Star-Crossed or Beyonce doing Lemonade. Like,
yeah,
if there was some kind of visual component, the trade-off I think would have been they might have steered more into characters, which might have killed it. So I don't know. But I think if they had found an interesting way to do it, a visual component would have been really dope for this.
I think just doing a taping of a live performance of it, like with the dance performances, maybe not like the Casey Musgraves type of thing, but more of like a Last Waltz kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, where it was filmed very cinematically, like it was a concert staged specifically to be filmed.
Stop making sense.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that, where it's like has some storytelling that goes along with it, but it's about the performance. It's not the storytelling. You know, and I think that would have been a smart way to do it. And they still could. They very well still could do that.
Maybe they did. Maybe they're going to surprise us and be like, hey, here's a whole feast for you guys.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
You know? We'll see.
Yeah. Well, the first song on the album, I think, is one that we don't probably have to spend too much time on, because we definitely have talked about this song already, is Leave the Door Open. It's kind of the first single that came out. Incredible song. This was the one that got everybody all hot and bothered, especially us, for Silk Sonic. I mean, it's like when this is, and I might be speaking out of turn here, but this is like a mid-level song on this album. And it's that good.
Yeah. I mean, again, I had to for a minute be like, wait, what? And then I'm like, oh, wait, we're talking about this album. So yeah. Mid-level on this is Nuclear. So I think you're right. I realized too, the more I listened to it in like the context of the whole album, this reminds me so much of Teddy Pendergrass, and specifically the song Close the Door. So like this song is like, if you decide you want to come over, I'll leave the door open for you. Close the door. He's like, I already have you. Now get in the bedroom. We're going to do some stuff that only Teddy Pendergrass could sing about. So yeah, it's like the equivalent of a very classy "you up" text, you know?
Yeah,
come on over.
this is where you kind of get to know their, that they got that little sense of humor. Like, if you smoke, what you smoke? I got the haze, purple haze. And they have the backup singers, and both Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. Like, when you watch the videos of these songs, like, while one is out front singing, as the David Ruffin, while the rest of the Temptations are back there singing, the other one is joining the Temptations. Is standing back there doing the choreographed little backup dancer stuff that they always did in Motown. And the other one is doing the lead singing duties, and I think that's such a cool visual representation of what that trade-off is probably actually like in real life, and how they kind of trade off. And it's not about either of them, but about Silk Sonic as a whole. And I think, Leave the Door Open is such a great intro, because you get that sense of humor. You get to feel how smooth this whole thing is going to be. And you get to understand that both these guys are talented as fuck.
Oh yeah, it's fucking absolutely wild. Can I just say, since we've covered all the ground we can in this song, I did want to reveal one thing. You know the line, if you smoke, I got the haze, and if you're hungry, girl, I got fillets. The first time I heard it, I was like, is he saying I've got the Lays, like Lay's chips? Because I got to tell you, that is a level of confidence that I will never know when a woman is coming over and I go, may I offer you some fine Lay's chips? And expect not to feel the wintry freshness of mace.
The wintry freshness. Do you think they make mace and spearmint flavor? Do you think they do that?
Maybe they've got like Frank's Red Hot Mace.
Yeah. They got to make some different flavors, right?
Yeah. Get crazy with it.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody's like a connoisseur of mace, if they could let us know. But
if you are a connoisseur of mace, we don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, that's probably true, actually. Yeah. Go ahead and subscribe to all the channels, but don't talk to us. Give us the numbers, but don't talk to us. The next song, Fly As Me. This one is where I realized that this song wasn't going to be just about this album wasn't going to be just about the singles.
No.
Hot damn, was this a jam?
Yep. I discovered this one first time through running on the treadmill, and I almost ran off the bell and through the fucking wall, leaving a me-shaped hole in the side of the building. This song is Christ on the Cross. It is funky as fuck. There is some James Brown. There's some Tower of Power. There's some Give Up the Funk, which makes sense. Again, Bootsy Collins is hanging around. This is such an opulent-ass song. The horns and the organ. It is unreal how stylish this is. It paints one of those visual pictures. You just see them walking down the hallway in their finery, and every girl is rubbernecking as they go by, just dripping confidence from every single pore. Fucking holy effing S.
Did you see that one of the writers of this song is Big Sean?
You gotta be kidding me.
Not kidding you at all.
What's that fucking Totally Foul song that he does? Shit. There's a Big Sean song that's just raunchy as shit.
Most of his songs are pretty raunchy, I think.
Oh, it's super bad. I think friend of the pod, Nikki, had us listen to it once. Fuck. Anyway, old Skimbo bit.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about Big Sean. I just was surprised to see that this was written by him. Well, there's like 5 people for the writing credits on this one, but it is. I mean, hold on. Where's the trying to? I want to make sure I say okay. Hollering at you from a 1977 Monte Carlo, hard act to follow. It's showtime, trying to boo you up like it's the Apollo. Just so good. I mean, they're like hearkening back to the Apollo Theater, which is obviously still a thing, but was like the place to perform and make it as your first big, like, kind of coming out party back in that time was the Apollo. And so it's, while they're not going full on just strictly playing characters, it's like they are embodying, somebody that would have been alive at this point in time to be able to perform at a place like the Apollo. It's just so, those little details, all those little touches all over this whole album is what makes it so perfect.
Well, and you're using it as a comparison, too. You're not like, we are literally in the Apollo in the 70s. You're expressing an emotion and an attraction and a feeling through the metaphor of like, oh, this is, I've got more daddy issues than Mamma Mia, I guess is a joke that someone that's seen Mamma Mia would make. Not me. I've never seen it. I'm a man. I'm a businessman. But you know what I mean? It's not, again, they're not playing characters. They're just borrowing from the lexicon to paint a picture.
Yes. Yeah. It's so many little deft touches. It's like the Bob Ross painting style where it's like, you don't know right off the bat where it's going to be, but as soon as they hit that one stroke that puts the paint in the right place, it's like, oh, this is just perfect. And you're just locked in. You see exactly where it's going. And it just feels like such a warm, nice hug.
Speaking of warm, nice hugs, why don't we go on to After Last Night?
Well, I knew this was going to be one. I almost thought about, when we talked about doing the whole album, which is now like I'm just going to check the time real quick. I know we usually, okay, we got time. We're good.
We got time. We're good.
Fine. We got like 30 minutes. We're good.
Smooth.
This was the one where I was like, if we're picking our 6 songs, I almost thought about picking this one just to take it off the table from you.
I would have, you have no idea the shit conniption I would have thrown. It would have been like Nikita Khrushchev pounding on the tables, just beating his shoe against the thing. I won't stand for that. If there's a song like this, you know who's bringing it to the table. Dude, this had everything. You get Thundercat coming in there, not just playing the bass on this song, but those like mystical oohs at the beginning that only Thundercat does. You got Bootsy setting the scene for us. He's making it clear that this is a song for the ladies. And my goodness gracious, how salacious. You get references. You're talking about a girl who's so good that it changes your entire perspective. She has a love that can change the physical properties of things. I'm talking, of course, about that gushy, gushy good girl. I want some more. These guys are out of control.
Sweet, sticky, thick, and pretty.
Amen. Amen, guys. I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. Sweet, sticky,
imagine
thick, and pretty.
The confidence that you have to like just put this out. Like say a line like that and it's not even cheesy at all. Like when we say that, people are like, oh, what a couple of nerds. Like that's
is he talking about taffy? I don't understand.
Yeah, that's weird when they say that.
Yeah.
But when you hear Anderson .Paak or Bruno Mars say something like that on this album, it's not weird at all.
Gets your gushy gushy going.
Yeah, nothing's felt more right than hearing that.
Dude, this is straight up baby making music. I would like to offer the caveat: women should not listen to this song because there will be a spontaneous pregnancy and you will have a lot of explaining to do. This is fucking potent.
Yeah, and if you're going to listen to the song, at least do yourself a favor and start trying to come up with some viable excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was about to say something very gross. I'm going to just shut up now.
Then you remembered which podcast it is.
Exactly. I was like, wait.
They say no Magoobies.
We're never invited back.
Respectable podcast around here.
Barely. Oh, Jesus. Whew.
Yeah,
this song, it just gets in you.
It was, gets in you. Nice touch.
Gushy, gushy.
I mean, just it's got every bit of that like 70s glamour that you want, but with the 21st century, like kind of just raw language. Basically, it's like they weren't saying gushy gushy in the 70s, at least not in reference to that.
Mm-mm.
You know, that just was not a thing that happened. Maybe Led Zeppelin said that, like, squeeze my lemon until the juice runs down my leg. I think it was about as racy as it got back in those days. They certainly were not saying that gushy, gushy good girl, I want some more. They were not saying that. But Silk Sonic said that, and it was perfect.
They took the words right out of my mouth.
From a lot of other people. But it works for Silk Sonic.
Yeah, just imagine Eric Clapton trying to talk about the gushy gushy.
Did you see that? I can't remember. Was it Washington Post? Maybe somebody wrote like a long form article about Eric Clapton.
For or against?
Kind of down the middle, but like definitely just like presenting the facts about him, which is that he went on that crazy racist rant in the 70s. He's doing all this anti-vax, anti-mask stuff now because he's very worried about the amount of money he's making because it's his only source of income is playing music live because nobody's buying a fucking Eric Clapton album. And I think he even says that in a quote in the article. He's like, nobody's buying my albums anymore. The only way I make money is by touring, taking money from boomers.
Well, a fool and his money are easily parted, so we'll let the older generation take care of the light work for us.
Yeah. Well, it was a very, it was an interesting article. Definitely didn't pull any punches, but we need to get moving on this album. We need to keep things going with Smoking Out the Window.
Whew.
And this was the newest single, just released like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, something like that. And we talked about it. And this was when we thought the album wasn't coming out until like next year, like February maybe. And we get a song like this and we're like, God damn it, they got to quit releasing these songs because it's just going to make that anticipation so much worse. And then lo and behold, 5 days later, a week later, something like that, they released the whole album. Just totally out of the blue. The same day that Taylor Swift released her album.
Ooh.
I don't know if they did that intentionally, but I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not notice that. Because I didn't know Taylor Swift had something coming out. But that same girl that I always fight with about Taylor Swift was like, oh my God, she released a new one. And I'm like, Jesus, she just can't stop. She's like an amoeba. She just keeps splitting and making more.
Oh yeah, that was all that Twitter was the day that Taylor Swift album came out. Everybody was like, oh, I'm staying up till midnight to listen to it. And I'm like, man,
oh God.
I don't know if you can get me to stay up till midnight to do anything these days.
Especially for Taylor Swift. Have some self-respect.
Yeah, seriously.
Sorry, that was really fucking mean. After I defended her in the opening.
Yeah, well, if they're this far in the episode, they clearly like us more than they like her. So
exactly, we got to balance it out.
We're safe. Yeah, we're safe. But Smoking Out the Window, this song,
this bitch,
and I don't know if you saw like the video for it, but it's very, very good. And this is like exactly the example of that interplay when sometimes it's Anderson .Paak being the lead singer and sometimes it's Bruno Mars being lead singer. And the way that Bruno Mars comes into this song.
Woo!
And in the video, lyrically, vocally, the way it all works together is just so pure and perfect. He's like, comes in with like, I don't know if people are familiar with Remember the Titans, but when they're doing the Mighty Mighty Titans dance and they like put one arm lower and they kind of slide to the side.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody knows what that's kind of what he does coming into the song. And it just is, what a way to come into a song. What a song to come into. Like, it was just so, so good.
It's great. It's great. Like, again, the Motown formula of somebody that you love and you're trying to keep her happy, but all she's doing is stressing you the fuck out. You're chain smoking cigarettes out the window of the car. What makes her worth keeping? And you have that revelation over the course of the song until it gets to the end. And there are those, you talk about Bruno Mars going nuts. Somewhere out there, James Ingram's ears perked up because those falsetto woos that Bruno Mars is cutting are from another world, channeled through him into ours. That guy is such a fucking showman. He should be doing the Super Bowl halftime show every year until he's dead, quite frankly. And he can invite whoever he wants to join him, but it's his gig for life. He is an entertainer. Not to take away from Anderson .Paak, but like, this is a song where like you really get to see what Bruno Mars is made of.
Yeah. And I've said for a long time, I think Bruno Mars is pound for pound the best entertainer in the business. Like his Super Bowl halftime show was excellent. It's just, he brings it when it needs to be brought, and he did it on this album. I think he's just, I don't know if like on his own, he might be like capable of doing world changing, crazy artistic music. But when it comes time that you need somebody to fill this exact role of powerhouse vocalist, powerhouse entertainer, just a stage presence, you just call up old 5 foot tall Bruno Mars, and he's going to knock it out of the fucking park, just like he does on this song. And they have a line that I think is the funniest one on the entire album, even funnier than the gushy gushy.
I know what you're going to say.
Is the not to be dramatic, but I want to die.
Yep, I fucking knew it. Oh,
I mean,
it's perfect.
Just at the end of the verse from Anderson .Paak, it's, baby, why you doing this? Why you doing this to me, girl? Not to be dramatic, but I want to die.
It's just elegant in its simplicity.
Yeah, it's
so
a tweet.
Fucking funny.
It's a tweet. Like,
Basically.
that's what that is. It's incredible. I don't know how they did it, but they made a 21st century Motown R&B like soul song here.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievably funny without being like, hey, I'll get him in the mix. Zappa. It's not Zappa crude. You know what I mean? They're not like poopy fart vagina like that. Those aren't the lyrics.
Yeah.
But there's definitely been this playfulness because, like you said, it's two very different things that are both funny. Gushy gushy, and not to be dramatic, but I want to die. It's all, like I said, that very tongue-in-cheek, semi-ironic distance from the material that, again, just like benefits the songs that come after, which is the next one, the big ballad off the album, Put on a Smile.
Yes. And you want to talk about some baby making music. This one, I think this is the one that you do start getting them in the mood.
Mm-hmm.
You play this one at dinner beforehand. You reach across, you look in her eyes, you grab her hand. Maybe you give her hand a little kiss. You put on this song. Just put yourself there. The candle's going. You got a nice medium rare 12-ounce ribeye in front of you. Maybe some mashed potatoes. Maybe she's got a little salmon fillet because she doesn't like the red meat. She doesn't like to go that heavy, especially not on date night. But as you're looking at her, you see the reflection, the candle dancing in her eyes. You start to cut into that steak. And you hear Bruno and Anderson just encouraging you, encouraging the mood. And 9 months later, you have a little Mitch. It's the ugliest thing you've ever seen, but you still love it. And it's all because of Silk Sonic.
Bruno Mars taught me how to love my disgusting son. Thanks, Bruno and Anderson. I love Mitchell so much. That was quite a ride you took me on. I was trying to think of a way to ruin that when you gave me the floor, but you went ahead and did it for me. Talking about Mitch.
I had to land the plane. I was like, we got to get it back into some sort of semblance of reality here.
Yeah, I was like, if he punts this to me, I'm definitely going to make a joke about how the only way I can get laid is a prostitute. So, but I mean, not to undersell, like, this is a smooth ass song, and I think you're onto something here, because if you play this during the entree, and it's just the two of you, this is a song that isn't being tongue-in-cheek about the emotion behind it, but that's the point. It's so real. It's so vulnerable. Talking about, I can't be in touch with my emotions, and it cost me you. So now everywhere I go, I have to act like I'm happy, be the life of the party, put on a smile. You got that kind of sincere vulnerability getting slung around at the dinner course. You have set the stage for being an emotional guy who's not in touch with those emotions, and only one special lady is going to save you from yourself. And this song is the shattering of the gauntlet right at her feet.
Yes, that is this song. If this one doesn't get you in there, fellas, I don't know what to tell you.
Hang it up.
Hang it up. I just don't know what to tell you. Time to put yourself out to pasture. cash in that 401k, hit the old dusty trail, because I you got no hope for you.
You got to fish or cut bait. That's my relationship advice.
Yeah. This, what a beautiful, smooth ballad. And like, honestly, when we talk about, and I say this in air quotes, the low points on this album, like this song was one, but that doesn't mean anything. It's just not as good, I think, to me, compared to the other songs on the album. But you got to be a barn burner to even be on this album.
Yeah. This was top 3 for me, this one.
Yeah.
I loved this. It's classic Motown. The fucking key change at the end. They do the key change a lot because it was standard to the practice. But like with this especially, it just pushes the song up into a different stratosphere, and that emotion just bursts out. And the note I wrote is, I hope I never love someone who could make me feel this way, because this is so painful. But it's beautiful, and it's silky smooth.
Yeah, it is. It's an excellent song. It really
Fucking
is.
A.
And the next one. Now, this one could be my favorite on the album, 777.
Wow.
Because, my goodness, what a fucking jam. On toast, on whatever else you might put jam on, this song fucks.
It's pedal to the fucking metal. It's, I will say, a little jarring coming right off the last one, but that's like a minor quibble. That's not a demerit to the song. And here's the thing. You say this is one of your top ones. The note I have here is, this is probably my least favorite song on the album. However, consider what that's saying when this is a nuclear grade instant classic.
Yes.
So, I mean, come on. The song it's all releasing that id, baby. All gas and no brakes. The boys are going to Vegas, and they're doing bits, and they're hanging out with strippers, and they're drinking champagne, and they're buying cars while they're there. They're not questioning things. They're not in their feelings. They're just having a good time.
Oh, just touched down. Up a few thou. Big booty hoes, meet me in the penthouse. Bar full of liquor. Cash for the strippers. It's gonna get weird tonight, so no pictures. It's just, that just sounds like so much fun. It just sounds like a really wholesome good time.
That's what it is. I would say this is also one of the most modern sounding songs. It's where the Motown veneer kind of slips a little bit. And again, not in a negative way, but just like it kind of, the modern sensibilities come through. It's the same as Fly As Me, the way that like Paak is kind of able to do what he does really well on his solo stuff. But I think that works. I think that ties it together. It's not out of line with the sound. It just gives it that little extra flavor, that little dust on top. So this song is a big fat line of cocaine. And you just got to take the phone off the hook, close the blinds, and snort.
Yeah, it is so, I mean, I can't even imagine the mess that they put themselves in Vegas, like these two letting it rip together, because Bruno Mars is a man that likes his booger sugar. That's for sure. Like, that man has been arrested for it a couple times, and I'm pretty sure is fairly unashamed about his love for that.
Hey, you know what? More power to him. If he doesn't have a problem and it's just his fun time juice, well, I guess it is illegal, but that don't bother me.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, who even cares about that these days? I guess if you're a Republican, you probably do.
No skin off the back of my ass.
Yeah, no. But it's just such a. I mean, obviously they're saying stuff in this song. Again, an example like just touched down, up a few thou, big booty hoes, meet me in the penthouse. Like that's not something that Marvin Gaye is probably saying back in the 70s. I just don't think that's happening. It's just such a good song. It's about, just partying in Vegas. Like there's nothing deep about it. Just like being young, good looking, and rich in Las Vegas, and everything that comes along with it. Good.
Everything I will never know.
Yeah,
I have to live vicariously through this.
I'm already past the age when that would have been appealing for me, because this just sounds like a headache to me at this point in my life. Like, it sounds like a lot of work, and I don't know if I definitely can't hang like that. So It sounds awful to me. Great
It sounds like I would get off the plane and immediately get into a fight with a street performer. Just a fat Spider-Man who's just trying to busk outside of Caesar's Palace, and I just get in a huge fight with him. That's what my Vegas experience would probably be.
You've never been?
No, never. I'm too afraid to make a little Mitch with a prostitute.
Oh, it's easy to not do that. You're going to be so drunk you won't even be able to get it up.
Well, now that's pretty motivating. That's smuts using your dipstick, Jeff.
That's what all the liquor's free if you're drinking while you're gambling.
Sure.
Yeah.
I got nothing to lose, so fuck it.
Gotta let the liquor do the thinking. That's all.
Rest in peace, John Dunsworth.
Well, we're in the home stretch. We're almost there. The next song, Skate. Now this one is an excellent song. This is definitely a little less explicit than other songs have been. Yeah, well, still, it's kind of that middle ground. We're kind of between Put On a Smile and After Last Night with Skate. Yeah, we're kind of in the middle there. It starts out in a room full of dimes, you'd be $100. I mean, just such a cheesy kind of pickup line, but it's perfect because it fits exactly what this aesthetic is supposed to be. They just continue to fire on all cylinders throughout this whole album.
Yeah, and something like that, it's very pure. It's cute. It's wholesome in its own way. In a world full of dimes, you'd be $100 bill. Talking about having a fine ass and stuff like that, and it's not explicit. It's not like you want to know what I want to do with that ass. It's just noticing the ass, complimenting the ass, but it's a very sweet, the fact that it's set in a roller rink. It's this very sumptuous bass-driven kind of roller disco song that has you kind of bop to it as you skate, and it creates that scene for you, which is just you see someone cute while you're out at the roller rink. And you got to get to know them. And there's that pull. And it's not necessarily about sex or anything else. It's just you see that person that trips your trigger and you want to be near them. So skate on closer to me. I'll sing like Barry motherfucking White to get you over here because that's what they do in this song.
Yep.
There's a lot of Barry White drenched all over this like syrup on a flapjack. And it's fucking beautiful. I will say this is another one of the kind of lower tier songs for me on the album. And yet, still, pure fun.
If being fine was a crime, girl, that'd lock your little fine ass up in a tower. Got your hair in the wind and your skin glistening. I can smell your sweet perfume. You smell better than a barbecue. It's just hysterical. Who the hell says you smell better than a barbecue? It's such a literal thing. A barbecue smells great, yes, but you don't associate that to how a woman smells.
It's a beautiful woman.
But he does. He loves barbecue and he loves his women. And this one smells better than a barbecue.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, it's just in the tiers of life, he's not having to rank things. They're just, if it's great, it's all great. They can all be compared to each other. Just I would never tell Marla that she smells better than a barbecue. That's just not something I'd ever get away with.
It's great. This song is fucking out of control, infectious, and wonderful.
It is. It's like the lightweight bubblegum kind of pop song on the album. I think this one and Leave the Door Open are the two that get you into the album. They're the real accessible ones. And then the rest is when you get down to the real nitty grit. And the last song, Blast Off, what do you think this one's about?
I don't know, Jeff. What do you think it's about? I think
it's about drugs.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, drugs with a Z. Oh, yeah, not even an S. These guys are doing drugs.
Oh, the fancy kind.
Yeah. Yeah, talking about tripping. I mean, I don't know what else you can parse from this. They're definitely not talking about getting into a real spaceship.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Maybe.
I took a little something to get here. I got a little more if you're ready. We can have it all. What do you think it is?
Well, all I know to compare it to is in my notes, I said, this is like a coked up pimp version of A Whole New World. Which is...
That's such a good way to put it.
It's basically what it is. It's like, you want to come sit on this flying carpet and do blow? And we can see the stars, man. We don't even have to leave the atmosphere.
You want to come sit on this carpet and do blow? That's basically what they're saying on this song. I mean, where is it? Yeah, we're up so high we'd be fools to look down. Shapes turn paisley. This is so amazing. Destination pure sensation starting right now.
Yeah. While you fly by the Sphinx, which ironically doesn't have a nose, and you're just gacked up on cocaine.
I mean, it's just, it's clearly some sort of designer drug. And knowing how much Bruno Mars likes his booger sugar, that's probably what it is. But, if you wanted to say it's acid or something like that, you probably could be right as well. Some really powerful weed. They're doing crazy stuff with that nowadays, I hear. So, whatever it is, he's definitely having a great time. And it sounds like they're trying to, I don't think it's even really sexual. It just seems to me like they're just let's go on a magic carpet ride. That's it. Let's get
pretty
really
much
blasted and get going.
Well, and I took it on those two levels where it's it's a drug song. Well, it's a drug song. It's a song with themes, cosmic themes, as implied to be induced by drugs. But at the same time, it's we're wrapping this up. We're putting this experience to bed, and instead of leaving it on a very definite note, we don't want to try to quantify this journey that we've taken together. So we're just going to leave it wide open. It's cosmic. It's endless. It's intergalactic. There's this guitar that if you told me Prince recorded it, I'd believe you. And it all just starts to drift away like a giant balloon. The song literally just vanishes into the cosmos. It's like Poochie from The Simpsons. I have to go now. Back to my home planet. But it leaves you slowly because it's weaning you off of the album. It's weaning you off of the experience. I know that sounds hippy-dippy, but it's true. The more I listen to it, it's like they don't want to go. They had as much fun making this as we had listening to it, and as you and I have had talking about this fucking album tonight. The ribaldry, Geoff. The ribaldry. So, to me, this was, again, the perfect way to end this. It's fun. It's funky. It's a reminder of, the friends we made along the way. And I hope it's a promise for more. If this was just a one-off, it's a beautiful way to end it. But if they decide they want to do more of this, I'll be there. Stream this one.
Yeah, absolutely stream it. Do not skip it. This is not if this is what you're into, go ahead and go check it out. Go check it out. I don't care what you're into. This is just pure good music all the way through. This album fucks. It's so good. Go listen to it. And I think there's some other things that people need to go listen to. One is the YouTube. Y'all need to get on the YouTube. You need to go see those singles videos. You need to make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. Hit that little notification button because we've got some new kind of content coming out. We got some new things on the horizon here at Out on That Line. And by the time you listen to this episode, there's going to be a piece of new content out there. And I'm going to leave it to my compadre to tell you a little bit about that if he wants to. But I think at this point, there won't be any spoilers when you're listening to this. But it's going to be some good content. We got some beautiful, big things on the horizon here. Alex, did you want to tell them a little bit about what's going on?
Well, yeah, by the time they've heard this, it'll be out. It'll be all over the news. But we've done our first reaction video, which is where Geoff tells me the money is at. So I think that's a fun thing. I like the idea of throwing the gauntlet with each other. So you picked Neon Moon for me. So I'm going to pick a song for you. I don't think we need to stick to that format necessarily because I would like to solicit the listeners to send us songs to react to. I think don't send any single suggestions anymore. Those are going to be things that are near and dear to me and Geoff. We want your recommendations for reaction videos. You want to see what we think. You want to make sure that you've got the exactly correct taste, and we can help you, but only if you give us things to which we can react. We've got a pretty nice little community forming on YouTube. Sincerely, we got a lot of people that are like engaged with this. So be like them, join the sensation, and tell us what you want to hear.
Yes. And don't get offended if we rip apart the song that you submit for us.
Yes.
You know, sometimes it's going to happen. Just know your audience when you're sending us the song. If you're sending us Taylor Swift, I can promise you it's going to be a bloodbath. It's just what it's going to be. If you send us Bruce Springsteen, probably going to be pretty amenable to that. If you send us, you know, some other things, just use your brain, use your common sense when you send us these songs. You could send us joke songs. You could send us whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Like, if it looks like something that's compelling enough, we'll do a reaction video to it, and we'll tell you what we think. And I think we have to be like very, like, kind of honest too, whether it's a reaction video or if somebody submits a song that we're familiar with and we've heard before. I think we need to like make sure that people know if it's not our first time hearing that song. We could still do a reaction video for it. But I think we need to like put the disclaimer in on those ones that we're familiar with, that it's like, okay, this is not going to be a true first time reaction because I didn't have a camera on my face the first time I heard this song, that kind of thing. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun because I think people can get a little bit weird with it, you know, where we're not going to be like diving in and really necessarily like dissecting the song the same way we do the albums on the podcast. Or even to the level sometimes that we do like the singles videos, like your Zappa one with the Zappa documentary was, you know, 7.5, 8 minutes or something like that, but like went pretty well in depth, you know, and I don't expect the reaction videos to, you know, get super deep. You know, some of them maybe just as far as whether we liked it or not. And that's it. You know, but I think it's just a fun thing to have some more content to go through in a different way than the straight up kind of analytical academic way of looking at music like we have before. You know, I think if a song is just a pure good pop song, it'd be fun to do that as a reaction video versus trying to talk about it in long form on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I think we got a lot of big things on the horizon as we head to the end of 2021 and into 2022, which is your reminder, ding dongs, that we need to get your submissions and nominations in for our best and worst of 2021 episode. It can be songs you loved, songs you hated, albums you loved, albums you hated, favorite musical moment, favorite moment on the podcast, whatever you dream of. As long as it's somehow related to the best and worst of 2021, you send it to us. We're going to talk about it on the show. We're going to have our own categories because you guys are slacking pretty bad right now. But this is a shot across, a friendly reminder to participate in our year-end awards.
It's a call to arms.
Correct.
Call to arms, folks. Let's get those submissions in. You can send them to us, DM, comments, whatever you want to do on Instagram, on Twitter. On Instagram, you find us @OutOnThatLine. On Twitter, @OutOnThatLine1. You could email them to us if you have more than one. You want to put them in list form, maybe a little explanation about them. An email would be a great way to do that. OutOnThatLine@gmail.com. You can make sure, like I said, go find us on YouTube. You'll find all of our singles episodes, all of our regular podcast episodes, and now those reaction videos. Now, we're not going to put a specific schedule, I don't think, on the reaction videos. They're just going to kind of come out when they come out. We'll still keep up with the singles videos, and, you know, maybe sometimes the reaction video will take the place of a singles video. So we'll always have some sort of content coming out on Thursdays in video form. Regular episodes always coming out on Mondays, and then those reaction videos kind of here and there whenever we get the inspiration or we get those submissions and we want to get those things turned around quickly. So make sure you just get in touch with us any way you want. We'll get that stuff up there. We want to hear from you about those end of the year items. So just make sure you send us your best ofs, worst ofs, whatever it might be. And Alex, was there anything else?
Good night, everybody.